it going, guys? Derek Hallett here, UnrealLiving.com, giving you 4 cycle tour tips. The number 1 tip, the very first tip that I'm going to give you guys, is to acclimatize your skin and your body as much as possible to the climate that you're going to actually be cycle touring in. So I'm in Australia right now. I'm going to be cycle touring through Australia, so it's really easy for me to acclimatize my skin and my body because I'm basically living in the environment. But what I'm doing extra is that I'm trying to get my body as tanned as possible. So I'm going out in the sun, getting it nice and red, not burning it, not going out and burning my skin, but going out and getting it basically as tan as possible. I wish I'd known this before going to Southeast Asia, because would have saved myself a lot of pain and a lot of burn going through that part of the world. I was coming from about 6 months worth of winter in Canada, and so going from basically not having any sun to being in the sun all day long, obviously you can imagine that I got quite burnt. My arms are blistering, my legs are blistering. I mean, it was pretty brutal. So what I'd recommend is, if you do live in a colder climate, say in North America or say in Europe, and you're going to a warmer climate, is to use either tanning beds or solarium to basically start to build up a tan for your body, so that when you do get to that place that you're going to, you're not going to have as many issues. Now, I don't recommend using any types of sunscreens. I think sunscreen is extremely toxic to your body. So the other thing that I'd recommend is to actually, cover your skin as much as possible. So I know in Australia, I didn't have this when I was in Asia. I didn't have a long sleeve shirt. I had a sweater that I had to wear sometimes. But in Australia, I have a long sleeve shirt that basically covers all the way up to my wrist. I have nice gloves as well that'll cover the backs of my hands. And I'm also going to probably fit a little flap that'll go around the back of my helmet that'll cover the back of my neck. And that'll, help a little bit in terms of keeping the sun from burning the back of my neck. Because when you're out there for 6, 7, 8 hours in a day riding, I mean, the sun is the biggest factor here, definitely in Australia, for how far I'm going to be able to go. So I'm going to take as many precautions as possible to basically limit the amount of pain that I'm going to be in caused by the sun. So that's tip number 1 for you. Now, my second cycle tour tip for you guys is to start to actually camp out in preparation for camping out. So already what I've been doing is I've set up my camp out back of the house, and every night for the past 2 nights I've been camping out, and for the next 6 nights leading up to the time that I actually leave for my cycle tour, I'm going to be camping out outside in my tent. Reason for that is that when you're camping outside, it's a little bit different from when you're sleeping in your bed. So you really want to start to basically just get your body used to camping in the situation that it's going to be camping in, say for the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 52 weeks. Now, when I was in Asia, I had a hammock tent, and it was so difficult to sleep in. Because I wasn't used to sleeping on my back, for one, and I wasn't really used to sleeping in a tent as well. Now, I was living in British Columbia at the time before I left, so it probably wouldn't have really worked out to start camping outside. But now I have a cocoon bivvy that lays right on the ground and just a simple camping mat. And now, before I go, I'm gonna know what I need every night before I go. I know what I'm gonna need to bring into my tent. I know how I'm gonna have to sleep. I know all these different little things before I leave, so that my nights out on the road aren't gonna be really, really shitty. I'm gonna work out all the kinks before I go. It's kind of like riding, you get your whole setup on your bike done before you actually go on your cycle tour. You test everything out, you hook up all the panniers, you hook up all the trailers that you have, and you work it out, right? And so that's the same thing with sleeping. Sleeping is such an important part of basically for your muscle recovery and being able to put out big miles per day. If you want to be able to put out big miles per day, you've got to have a lot of sleep every night, just so that your muscles can really recover and so that you can physically have the nerve energy to go out and do it. My third tip that I wish I'd known when I was in Southeast Asia is how to actually take care of my bicycle. It sounds super simple, but a lot of these things that you don't really think of when you're going to go on a cycle tour. Now, Now, I could have probably gotten at least another couple thousand kilometers out of my drivetrain if I had known how to take care of it properly. But I had to replace the crankset, the chain, and the rear cassette on it already after about 5,000 kilometers of riding. And you know, you can ask different people and they'll give you a different answer on how much distance you'll actually get out of it. But I took very poor care of it. I never cleaned it, and I still got about 5,000 kilometers out of it. So that's actually not that bad. But basic thing that you want to be doing is you want to either take some kind of rag or an old t-shirt or something like that, and what you want to do is basically wrap this right around your chain, pedal backwards to clean off any gook or grime on it that is basically accumulated after you've been doing so many kilometers. And how many kilometers do you know to really start to clean your chain? You know, I'd say probably if you're doing a lot of miles every day, maybe every 2 to 3 days. And after that, you know, grab your favorite chain lube here to basically lube it all up. Once you've lubed it up, again, take this to wipe off any excess oil. Because the reason why you want to wipe off the excess oil is so that basically when any particles, you know, dirt and sand and stuff gets on the chain, it's not going to have as much lube to basically grab onto, because that's really one of the things that actually helps basically the drivetrain wear quicker, is all the dirt and all the grime and stuff on it. Now say you have like a really sludgy kind of drivetrain, you haven't cleaned it in a long time, grab something like a kerosene or something like that, a nice degreaser, to basically clean everything off really spick and span. The other thing to clean off your bike is to use some sort of furniture polish, and this is just on basically just the standard parts on your bike, not on the drivetrain itself. So this is just, you know, helps you clean it off, gets all the dirt and all the grime off your bike. And so actually this is the lube that I use is Pedro's Go. It's a low viscosity chain lube. It's also I believe it's a biodegradable vegetable based chain lube. So that's what I'm going to be using on my next little bike trip. So hopefully everything goes well. The other thing would be to pop off the back wheel, and then you want to clean through the cassettes. You want to clean through the cassette. So you take a rag like this, and all you do is you basically just kind of go through the cassette between each sprocket and just kind of clean it as if you're like flossing your teeth. And that just gets all the grime off the cassette. And the same thing on the crankset as well. You want to be cleaning that off. If it's really grimy, then you probably want to have to use a brush or something like that to get all of it off, using a degreaser as well. So that's my third tip for you guys. Hope you enjoyed that one. So my fourth cycle tour tip is actually one that I don't think is as important as the other ones, oddly enough, is conditioning. It's definitely important, but I don't think it should be your main focus. You got to really focus on the other three as well. And you know, I was so focused on conditioning and being able to ride, you know, a certain amount of kilometers per day. I was riding my bike everywhere, which is absolutely a great way to start touring, to start training for cycle touring, is to basically ride your bike wherever you go. I don't have a car, don't have an Australian driver's license, and I think the public transportation is too expensive, so I ride my bike wherever I go. Very rarely, maybe I think a handful of times, maybe 5 times, I've used either public transportation or I've got to ride somewhere while I've been in Brisbane here. And so, conditioning. How do we want to condition our bodies for cycle touring? Now, everyone's going to kind of go about it differently, and it's really kind of relative on basically where you are in the world. Is the ground covered in snow? But I'm just going to assume that you're able to ride. So what I would start off with doing is riding your bike everywhere you go, to and from work, to and from the grocery store. Pick up a bike trailer so that you can pick up your groceries as well. Start riding your bike everywhere. Make it a part of your day, just to kind of get your legs into the notion of riding basically all the time. When you are riding, you want to ride slow. When you're cycle touring, you're not racing. There's no race here, unless you're actually going for a world record. Then you might want to train a little bit harder so that you can ride a little bit quicker. But when you're actually out there riding day to day, you're going really slow. So you might be only traveling between 15 to 25 kilometers per hour when you're actually riding, and it's quite slow, right? It's not a very fast pace. And so when you're actually riding, you want to build up your endurance. So you want to ride long times at a very low BPM, beats per minute for your heart. So you want to ride slow. You want to ride that 15 to 25 kilometers when you're riding. You don't want to be focused on going so much as being faster, being able to conquer the biggest mountain. You want to just go slow, slow, slow. Slow, slow, slow. You don't want to kill yourself out there while you're training. Mileage, you want to start building up your mileage as well. So if you think that 10 kilometers is a long ride right now, start with 7.5, 8 kilometers and keep building it up 10 kilometers. And you want to just keep your mileage increase around 10% each week. You don't want to go past 10% too much. So say you do 30 kilometers one week, maybe you want to do 33, 35 kilometers the next week. And keep bumping it up until you're able to do an amount per week that you feel comfortable with. So if you're going to be riding, say, 300 kilometers in a week while you're cycle touring, if you can do probably 150 or 200 in a week, then you're probably fine to also do about 300. If your whole time is going to be focused on cycling, you just go slow while you're cycle touring, and you take a lot of rest time as well. So 300 kilometers isn't really that much to do. Once you kind of start to build up your muscles, it's only 3 days doing 100 kilometers. So it's not a huge amount. It might sound like a huge amount, but just over time, everyone can build up that conditioning quite easily to do that. So those are my tips for conditioning, is basically just get out there, just start riding your bike wherever you go. Get a trailer so that you're actually also used to carrying weight as well. Because when you're cycle touring, you got to remember that you might be carrying 40, 50, 60 pounds on your bike with you. So you have to take that into account as well so that you can start to build up the strength. And that's my tips for bicycle conditioning, for cycle touring. Hope you guys enjoyed. You're having an awesome day. Get out there, go cycle touring, enjoy yourself. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see my big cycle tour, 3,000 kilometers here through Australia. And if you like the video, definitely like it or dislike it. If you have any questions or comments about the tips, definitely leave them below. And we will talk to you guys super soon. Have a great day. Peace out.